I gotta get this thing started, folks. Let me go take you into see. Let me explain about this man. This is the man who happens to be an American singer, songwriter, producer, and band leader, Mr. George Edward Clinton. His Parliament Funkadelic Collective, which have primarily recorded under the distinct band names like Parliament and Funkadelic, respectively. It developed an influential and eclectic form of funk music during the 1970s that drew on Afrofuturism, outlandish fashion like psychedelia, and surreal humor. He launched his solo career with the 1982 album Computer Games and went on to influence the early 1990s hip hop and G funk sound. Clinton is regarded, along with the late James Brown and Sly Stone, as, as one of the foremost innovators of funk music. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1997, alongside 15 other members of Parliament Funkadelic. Well, he was inducted by the late Prince Rogers Nelson, you know what I'm saying, in 1997, along with the 15 other guys, 15 members of the group. But in 2019, Clinton and the band Parliament Funkadelic were given the GLAA, like the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Awards. The story begins. George Edward Clinton was born in Kannapolis, North Carolina. And he grew up in Plainfield, New Jersey. You know, as soon as his dad come to pick up him and his siblings from uh from the Kannapolis all the way to like Plainfield. So some people are saying that he was in a gang, which that I did not even know he wasn't in it. Something that nobody else even knew of. This was long before his brother had passed away. And as of 2024, you know what I'm saying? That's before all of it. Uh, Even though George Clinton, you know, he was born in North Carolina and then he grew up in New Jersey. So the few people, one of the few people that stayed in Plainfield, New Jersey, is William Billy Bass Nelson Jr. Rest in peace. He grew up in Plainfield, New Jersey, most of his life. Rest in peace. But when after all this shit happened with George ripping off the members of Parliament and the group that was called Funkadelic, that was coined by the late William Billy Bass Nelson Jr. all the money that he's supposed to be paying all of them for all of them to get back home to their families. But in the documentary, Tear the Roof Off, the untold story of Parliament Funkadelic, he said that George Clinton had ripped them off. He ripped off him, he ripped off Gary, he ripped off Eddie, and then he ripped off Lucius. Yeah, and a few people that was in the group. Yeah, William said this in the documentary, man. I didn't even know I watched the documentary, so but explain to you about George Clinton. The man has lived in Tallahassee, Florida for 30 years. But during his 10 years, when when working at a barber shop, by cutting other people's hair and sweeping and cleaning up the hair and throwing it in the garbage. At the age of 15, Clinton had formed a doo-wop group that was inspired by the likes of the legendary Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers. It was called the Parliaments. They were like American vocal quintet that was from Plainfield, New Jersey, in the United States. It was originally formed in the back room of a barber shop. That was while straightening the hair and everything. That was back in 1956. But the quintet was named after the cigarette brand Parliament. Those same packs of cigarettes were already about to be sold in supermarkets and discount stores to this day, man. They're still selling it like they did way back in the days in the 1950s, 1960s era. See, see, this is where he formed a doo-wop group that was inspired by, Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers that was called the Parliaments while straightening uh, the hair at a barber shop that was in Plainfield, New Jersey. But that barber shop is been gone. It's been demolished ever since. Used to be on the west end of Plainfield that was once home to it, a barber shop on 216 Plainfield Avenue. It was known as the Silk Palace. It was owned in part by Clinton. It was staffed by the various members of the Parliament Funkadelic Collective and known as the Hangout for all of the local singers and musicians in Plainfield's 1950s and 1960s doo-wop, soul, rock, and proto-funk music scene. We take it to the 1960s right here in the 70s. For a period in the 1960s era, Clinton was a staff songwriter for Motown. Despite initial commercial failure and one major hit single, it was a single, it was it was called I Wanna Testify. It was like the first hit single that was by them, the Parliaments. But in 1967, that's late 1960s, uh, that was as well as the arranging and the producing scores and of the singles on many of the independent Detroit soul music labels. The Parliaments, well, let me explain it to you, man. George Clinton, he had to uh, he had to go make some deals with a man who had ran a Detroit record label called Rebelot Records, and his name was Darren Taylor. Okay, and then George had called uh, the four men that was in the Parliaments. He called Calvin Simon on the phone. He called Calvin Simon on the phone. He called Clarence Haskins on the phone, and he called the shady one, Shady Grady Thomas, on the phone. He called him on the phone. Then he called Raymond Davis, who was known as Stingray. He called him on the phone and get them to come to the studio and to do the song that was for the Testifying record. It was called "I Want to Testify." So this is long before this happened. When I think it was at a photo shoot. The argument was at a photo shoot. It was between Shady Grady Thomas. Yeah, it was between Shady Grady Thomas, who was now formed as the original P with the other members, formerly the Parliaments group. Uh, Billy tried to get in the picture with Calvin and Clarence and Ray. Okay, then with his outfit on and all that. So so Grady, shady as he can be, he pulled Billy to the side and told him like like Billy, what the hell are you doing? Why do I get in the picture with them for? And Billy told Grady that he wanted to be a parliament. And Grady said, "No, you ain't no parliament." And Billy responded back and said, "I want to. Yes, I want to be a parliament." And Grady said it to Billy again. "You ain't no parliament." Like, hey, Grady, are you guys the parliaments? And Grady is like, yeah, we're the parliaments. You're the part of the parliament's backup band. This was so untold in the story. And Billy Bass Nelson, you know what I'm saying? He said, he's like, uh-uh, this is not this is not going to work. So so the parliaments eventually found success, you know what I'm saying, under the names Parliament and Funkadelic. So so uh, William Nelson Jr., who's also known as Billy Bass, who was he's like a guitarist. Uh, he's he had to coin the name of this group here, Funkadelic. See, Billy Bass Nelson, you know, he was in the group. It was uh Gary Scheider. It was Gary Scheider, uh, Lucius Ross, uh, Cordell Mawson, and Eddie Hazel. You know what I'm saying? So the Parliaments, see, they eventually found success under the names Parliament and Funkadelic, but the Parliaments, they got tied up at the Rebelot Records label because they got thrown in. The Parliaments got thrown into a lawsuit between Darren Taylor, who was doing the writing with George Clinton. That was for the Parliament's "I Want to Testify" record. It was from the Testifying, you know, album. There was a lawsuit between, uh, I think it was between Berry Gordy. It's between Berry Gordy and Darren Taylor. So Berry Gordy has sued Darren Taylor, and Taylor's Taylor's record label, Rebelot Records. So Gordy has sued Rebelot Records over the contract tampering of the group. See, but again, they already found success under the names Parliament and Funkadelic. See, Parliament is like a group. So then the lawsuit happened, and then it stopped a little bit until 1970 maybe. they're leaving Motown, let alone see the Parliaments. They're leaving Motown because their contract was already up. So the Parliaments, which was now known as Parliament. So now see, George already got the name, so he transformed it from the Parliaments to the name Parliament. So they come out with an album that was from the Invictus record label. That's what I know of. Let me explain it to y'all. That's how they did the transforming. So yeah, the last time, see, the Parliaments did their job. They eventually found a success under the names like Parliament and in Funkadelic. That was in the 1970s. But you see also uh, the name P Funk. The name P Funk, like it's a short of the combination. But these two bands have combined the elements of the musicians, such as you know Jimi Hendrix, who had to be James Marshall Hendrix, rest in peace. He died in the 1970s. Sly and the Family Stone, no, Sly Stone had passed away last year. So Frank Zappa, who was a composer, songwriter, guitarist, conductor, actor, satirist, filmmaker, and activist. And James Brown, James Joseph Brown, God rest his soul. Yeah, tragically, he died in 2006 while exploring the various sounds with the technology and the lyricism. Clinton and the Parliament, the Parliament Funkadelic Collective had dominated black music during the 1970s with more than 40 R&B hit singles, including three number ones and three platinum albums. From 1971 to late 1973, Clinton and other members of the band had settled in Toronto. During their years in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, they have honed their live show and recorded the album. This the album I'm showing you here. America Eats Its Young. That could become, which was their first to feature William Earl Collins, also known as Bootsy. There's some situations that happened that while George had already ripped those guys off. But anybody remember he took these guys on the road? He ends up paying all those members in cocaine. Remember that? I think he had some dealings with a man who was used to be a spokesperson for the guy who was responsible for sending all the refugees to Florida from Cuba in a boat lift. With all these people from Cuba boarded onto the boat. the Muriel, Cuba both lived. Who have to be Fidel Castro. Yeah, Mr. Fidel Castro. The guy who was a spokesperson for him is Mr. Nini Montez. He was like a drug dealer who had on the hat, and he wore the I think he wore some clothing that has one nation under a group. Yeah, he has his T-shirt or some clothing that had one nation under a group on it. He made those dealings. George had made those deals with Nini, because Nini is the cocaine distributor. He's a drug distributor. He's one been dealing cocaine with people like the people that was no longer with us. I think it was Pablo Escobar, and one of the women who's no longer with us was Griselda Blanco. Griselda Blanco was the cocaine godmother, was from Colombia. Shit, he trying to get somebody else from the group to get Dawn Silva. Trying to get Dawn Silva, who was from this this uh female group like collective who had to be Brides of Funkenstein. It was with Dawn. That was Dawn Silva. It was Lynn Mabry, and I think it was Sheila. It was Sheila Brody, I think. Yeah, he tried to buy these people in, and look, see what Clinton is doing to those members of the groups, like Parliament and Funkadelic. He started paying those dudes in cocaine. He paying those people in fucking cocaine. Then one of the members trying to get Dawn Silver to try to to try the cocaine. So Dawn Silver, who was in Brides of Frankenstein with Lynn Mabry and Sheila Brody and them. Yeah, she had gave in and test tried out the cocaine. Yeah. So according to the widow of the late Gary Scheider, uh, the late Gary Scheider's widow, Linda Scheider, have said that said somehow the drugs have already affected those people. They think it killed them. It killed people. You know, hints of the pictures that they have of the headstones of the people that died. The one person that have died in 1992 is Eddie Hazel. So so the Brides of Frankenstein was formed, and Paulette was formed. So we got all sorts of interviews that came from Linda Scheider, the late Gary Scheider, William Billy Bass Nelson Jr., Jerome Bigfoot Braley. Who else was there? The late Clarence Haskins. You know what I'm saying? You have the living member of the original P, Grady Thomas. Uh, the other earlier interviews they have from the earlier documentaries was William Earl Collins. Uh, who else? Uh, it was Nona Hendricks, I think. Um Bernard Worrell Jr. George Bernard Worrell Jr. You have they had interview with George Clinton that was from the earlier documentaries from like 1999, 2005, 2006, and then I feel it was 2014, 2015. That was from Unsung. They have interviews. I think it was from Ronald Ford, Robert Peanut Johnson, uh, Maceo Parker. Who else? Uh, Malia Franklin. Yeah, Malia Franklin. Um, it was Jeanette Washington, Jeanette Gruder, I think. Who else? Who else? Deborah Wright. Who else was on there? You got the attorney. You got the tour manager. Yeah. There's Dennis Chambers. That was one of the band members. Yeah. Who else? Who else was on there? One from the earlier documentaries. Of One Nation Under a Groove. Ice Cube, Shock G, the leader of Digital Underground. You know what I'm saying? Cordell Mawson or Massoon. That's like French or whatever. Yeah. Who else was on there? Who else was on there doing the interviews? Yeah. Who was on there doing the interviews? Reginald Hudlin, Ricky Vincent. Yeah. The people that did these interviews from 1999, 2005, 2006, 2014, and 2015. Yeah. Oh, I did not even leave out uh, whoever was there. One of the members that was. of their group was already in the interview for the untold story of Parliament Funkadelic. Um, it was in there. It was there too. So it was already in it. So there you go. But on to the 1980s. On to the 1980s we go. I mean, shit. In the 1980s, Clinton began to encounter legal difficulties arising from Polygram Records acquisition. Uh, well, it was Polygram NV. It was like a Dutch German multinational major music record label and entertainment company that was formerly based in the Netherlands. It was founded in 1962 as the Gramophone the Gramophone Philips Group. It was by Philips and German corporation that was by a Dutch corporation that was Philips and German corporation Siemens. So yeah, let me tell you what happened with George Clinton, man. He was in trouble, man. He was so in trouble. He had begun to encounter legal difficulties arising from Polygram's acquisition of Parliament's label, Casablanca Records. It was used to be owned by a man named Neil Bogart, who was no longer with us. He passed away. It was an American record label that was owned by UMG Universal Music Group, and it's operated under Republic Records label. It was under its founder, the late Neil Bogart. You know, he passed away in 1982. Tragically. But Casablanca was like the most successful during the disco era of the mid to the late 1970s. So that's what it is. That was under the direction. So, but Clinton, he recorded several solo albums, although all of these records featured the contributions from from this. What do you all see here? Uh, P Funk's core musicians. I gotta find out why. I gotta find out those who George Clinton had ripped off. But I'll get to it right after I had to go through the reading of this. This period of Clinton's career, it was so marred by multiple legal problems, resulting in the financial difficulties due to royalty and copyright issues. Notably, notably with this record label here, Bridgeport Music. It was like a music publishing company that was founded in Detroit, Michigan, by a man named Armin Bladian in 1969, and it controls the copyrights to George Clinton. Yeah, it controls the copyrights that was to the recordings by the likes of George Clinton in the group Funkadelic that was formed by uh, the now deceased Nelson. Yeah, they did that though. But how many times we had to mention this type of shit? Yeah, let me explain it to you. But this period of Clinton's career, see, let me explain to you about what happened with George Clinton. But this period of Clinton's career, it was so marred by the multiple legal problems resulting in the financial difficulties due to the royalty and copyright issues, notably with Bridgeport Music. With Bridgeport Music, who Clinton claims fraudulently obtained the rights to many of his recordings. Now I gotta find out who George Clinton had ripped off and trying to scam first. Oh yeah, it was Dawn Silva, Lynn Mabry, and Sheila Brody. The Brides of Funkenstein had come out with albums like, I gotta look at the albums that was from. I gotta look at the albums that was from the Brides of Funkenstein. I need to find that out. What is it? They had that shit here. They had this shit here. I think the albums that was from the Brides of Funkenstein. I think it was is Don't Buy Texas from a Cowboy, and I think it was something else. Some other albums. In the early 80s, I think they were nominated for a Grammy or something, even though I think George had ripped those women off, I think. And then he got Dawn and Lynn and Sheila in trouble with the federal government. So he had the feds coming to Dawn's house. You know what I'm saying? Even though he shared with his mother. Shit, no, I messed up with the sexual preference stuff. Dawn Silva, I mean, she's at home with her mother, even though her mother already heard the knock on the door, and then she found out it was the federal government was knocking on the door, and her mom already told her, like, hey Dawn, you and Lynn are in trouble. So it's all prior to this happened. You got a federal agent started telling Dawn that are you with the group called the Brides of Funkenstein, and Dawn claimed that she did not even own the group, and then the Fed said yes you do. So Dawn and Lynn, they had to go get an attorney to go file a suit against George Clinton. This is prior to the shit that happened with uh with the lawsuit that was back in the days. I think it was in the 1970s, late 1970s. There was a lawsuit. It was between the four members of the parliament, which was in part of the parliament group. It was Calvin Simon, Clarence Haskins, Grady Thomas, Raymond Davis versus George Clinton. It was a lawsuit that they had against him in court back in the late 70s, right after they left the group. And they were owed money. They were owed money by George. So see, this happens time after time. Uh, they were represented by an attorney who was appointed for them. It's a legal battle between the group, between the four members of the group and George. So shit is crazy, man. It was going in some arbitration type of thing, and then the parliaments, which was known as now as original P, they be giving all sorts of chump change, man. Like, oh, Lord no. So the case ended in the favor. So that's what happened. And the tour manager had to go to George Clinton's house. He had to go to the basement, and what George had already told the road manager, like, who brought Nini Montez in, all strung out on drugs. While all strung out on drugs, Clinton told the road manager like he's strung out on drugs. The road manager responded to him and said, "George, you did bring Nini Montez in," and, and Clinton told him, "I did, though. I did, did I?" The road manager said, "Yeah, you did." So he fucked up. George Clinton done fucked up. It's like he trying to. This one thing is he trying to stick it to Warner Brothers by pulling Funkadelic out of that deal with Warner Brothers, and so he brought them to his own label. So we go back to Westbound Records for a minute. They have they used to have a bunch of people else there. They used to have Funkadelic. They used to have Kiss. You know what I'm saying? And then they used to have Donna Summer. They used to have Donna Summer. And then they used to sign uh you know who have to be Joan Jett and they have to be Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. Casablanca Records have a bunch of people. I don't know. Westbound might have some people there, but Casablanca, I don't know about Westbound, but Casablanca Records have these people though. I don't know. So Casablanca have released some albums in the 70s. It was with I think it was with Mothership Connection. It was Mothership Connection. It was Up on the Downstroke. and you have, I feel it was chocolate. I feel it was Chocolate City. It was Chocolate City. Yeah, those those albums that were so released at the time, and then this album, the record was called One Nation Under a Groove. So that's what it's doing. Other things that don't even have the time to do so. But after all this happened, when Motown had the Temptations, the Four Tops, Smokey Robinson, Martha and the Vandellas, and all of them, you know, they had those people there. You know what I'm saying? All those groups you see there that all came from Motown, all came from Motown. But right until these riots, until everything happened with people getting high on the LSD, people protesting, you know what I mean? People getting arrested, people getting thrown into the riots in Watts in Detroit, and then you have the Vietnam, and then you have the Vietnam War, and all hell was broken loose back in the '60s. All led to hippie movement. All led to the hippie movement. It was so bad. It was a powder keg of controversy that happened in the 1960s. See, and Dawn had thought that the Brides of Funkenstein, the Brides of Funkenstein was like an organization like Fang, but Parliaments they come out there in 1970, man. I saw they not even I did not even know how I remember so much of it when they come out and did a show with with songs like the old I Wanna Testify song, you know. George come out with that fucked up ass like haircut, man. Like almost like a Mr. T like haircut. They dance around on the microphone and start rolling on the floor like a crazy person would do. They performing with I got a thing, you got a thing, you don't drink like I got drink and you don't smoke like I smoke type of shit. So they come out with this other song there was they're performing with Friday night, August the 14th. So this is what they have done there. It goes back to where somebody else was already driving the interstate or whatever with the with the with the equipment that was belonged to Funkadelic. Dude got in a wreck with the equipment that belonged to Funkadelic. Was in the car. So Vanilla Fudge they decided to offer Funkadelic. They offered Funkadelic their equipment. Use the equipment as long as they like, you know what I mean? And that's what they done. Uh, Hence, of all the pictures of the group members, being depressed and sad, they got a rare video of him. I think it was George, or probably have had sat there with a can of beer with some, in his hand. They had he had an ounce of weed in his hand. You're the members, man. We seen them all on, you know, high on acid. You know, it was so weird. It was so weird back then. It led to the members they thinking that they had enough of George, screwing them out the money. Glenn Goins, he was in the group. He couldn't even he couldn't get nowhere. He couldn't get no money there getting anywhere else with George. You know what I'm saying? So he rolled out of the group and he went with Quasar. But he brought in, see, this goes back to they brought in William Earl Collins, Frederick Wesley, Maceo Parker, you know what I'm saying? A few other people. A few other people. A few other people. You see, Eddie Hazel, he couldn't get anywhere else with George anyway. Eddie moved on, come out with a solo album. A lot of people come out with a lot of solo albums. Uh, uh, Bernard Worrell, George Bernard Worrell Jr. Come out with a solo album, and uh, William Collins came out with the Rubber Band, Bootsy's Rubber Band. Uh, Came out with an album and all this other shit. It all goes back to a group that was it was called Brainstorm. It was called Brainstorm. That was the one female member that was in the group that was in there is Belita Woods. Belita Woods was an R&B singer that was in Brainstorm. It was in the 70s. And then she was in this other group. It was called The Undisputed Truth. That I did not know of. It was there. So they were all fed up with George as far as money was concerned. Sorry, I had to take too long to get to the bottom of these things. But in 1982, Clinton was signed to Capitol Records LLC under the two names, his own as a solo artist and as the P Funk All Stars. The P Funk All Stars releasing the album Computer Games under his own name that same year. For the single, it was called Loopzilla. The single called Loopzilla. Uh, kind of hit the top 20 on the R&B charts, followed by the song Atomic Dog, uh, which reached number one R&B and number 101 on the pop chart. In the next 4 years, Clinton released about three more studio albums, like You Shouldn't Nuff Bit Fish. It's called You Shouldn't Nuff Bit Fish. It was from like 1983. Some of My Jokes Are Friends in 1985. And R&B Skeletons in the Closet from 1986. It had an old picture of George Clinton back in the days when he was younger, when he was with the parliaments back in the 1950s, 1960s, as well as a live album like the Mothership Connection. Uh, it was live from the summit, Houston, Texas, and charting the three singles to date in the R&B top 30. It was called Nubian Nut, Last Dance, and another song that was out. It was called Do Fries Go With That Shake. It was a song that came from Clinton. It was released it was released from the album R&B Skeletons in the Closet. I did not even know it. That's where the single came from. He is also a notable music producer who works on almost all the albums that he performs on, and he has produced the albums that was for William Earl Bootsy Collins and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It was an American rock band. It was an American rock band that was formed in Los Angeles, California in 1982 that was consisting of Flea, who was the bass guy, Anthony Kiedis, who did the vocals, Chad Smith, who was on the drums, and John Frusciante, who did the guitar. The music had incorporates the elements of alternate rock, alternative rock, funk, punk rock, hard rock, hip hop, and psychedelic rock. But among others, in 1985, he was recruited by the Chili Peppers to produce their album. It was called Freaky Styley. It was called Freaky Styley. It was like an album that was the second album that came from them. It was released on the summer of 1985. So because the band members were also like huge fans of uh of Clinton and and of the funk and of the funk in general. Clinton had wrote the vocals and the lyrics to the title track, which was originally intended by the band to be left as an instrumental piece. You already seen him on stage. You see him out there in the back, performing with the Red Hot Chili Peppers and things like that. So the album was not a commercial success at the time. It was not commercial. It was not a commercial success at the time in 1987 included. But in 1987, Clinton he was recruited to write the theme song for the Tracy Ullman show. The Tracy Ullman show that used to be on the air uh, on Fox. It was from like April of 1987. You know what I'm saying? It was like the second original primetime series I was following with Married with Children, and it ran for like 4 seasons, and it had 81 episodes until May 26, 1990. That's where it's ended at. It was called. See, let me explain to you why he was recruited to write the theme song for the Tracy Ullman show that was from the 1980s. It was called "You're Thinking Right." During the mid to late 1980s, many of hip hop and rap artists that cited Clinton's earlier music as an influence, along with James Brown. Uh, Clinton's songs with the Parliament Funkadelic Collective were often sampled by rap producers, and this is what he said. Sure, sample my stuff. I forgot. I got fucked up. He said, "Sure, sample my stuff." He remarked it in 1996, and he said that like, yeah, better time to get paid when you're my age. You know what to do with money. You know what to do with money. You don't buy as much pussy or drugs with it. You just buy some. But in 1989, man, Clinton released the album The Cinderella Theory. It was studio album number 5 that all came from him. It was released on the summer of 1989. That was on Paisley Park Records. It was an American record label that was founded by the late Prince Rogers Nelson. It was it was a record label that came from the late Prince Rogers Nelson. Okay, uh, but we're gonna go to the 1990s and the 2000s, man. This is where we're going. Clinton continued to work. He continued his work with Paisley Park. Well, I think it's because of Prince's problems with the label. But he continued his work with Paisley Park with the album that Clinton had came out with in 1993. He came out with "Hey Man, Smell My Finger." It was studio album number 6. It was released. It came from him in like October of 1993. But the year 1994, it saw Clinton contribute to the several tracks on Primal Scream's studio album "Give Out But Don't Give Up." But in 1995, Clinton had sang "Mind Games" that was on the John Lennon tribute, "Working Class Hero." And Clinton then signed with the record labels like Sony 5550, I think Sony 550, I think. It was a record label that was a subsidiary imprint of Sony Music. It was operating through Sony Music's Epic Records division that was located in New York. And it's released like is they released the album. I think he released the album was called "The Awesome Power of a Fully Operational Mothership" in 1996. Here's TAPOAFOM here. That's an abbreviation of what it stands for. The awesome power of a fully operational mothership. That's what's referring to the P Funk mothership that was introduced in the 1970s. That was on Parliament's album, The Mothership Connection. Yeah, Clinton had appeared in films, man, such as the movie Graffiti Bridge in 1990, House Party in the same year, where he played a DJ in the film. He played a role in this American comedy film PCU in 1994. He played a role in Good Burger in 1997. He played a role in The Breaks in 1999. It was with the likes of Mitch Mulaney, Clifton Powell, that was from Minister Society, Paula Parker, that was from the Friday movie, and Loretta Devine, Loretta Devine from the movie Class Act. But in 1994, he appeared as the host of the anthology television film that was named after the album Cosmic Slop. But in 1997, he appeared in the Cartoon Network, in a Cartoon Network show. He appeared as himself in the Cartoon Network show. It was called Space Ghost Coast to Coast. It was an American adult live action animated parody talk show. It was produced by and aired on Cartoon Network. It was a spin-off of the same name that was from William Hanna and Joseph Barbera, rest in peace. It was a spin-off of the Space Ghost cartoon that was from uh, the likes of William Hanna and Joseph Barbera. But R.I.P. to them. You know what I'm saying? But it's but it's hosted by a reimagined version of the series. The reimagined version of the series that was by a protagonist who was known as Space Ghost. That was George Lowe who had passed away. R.I.P. He the one that hosted it. Clinton also appeared as the voice of the Funktipus. It's called Funktipus. What's the name? Funktipus, like the DJ of the funk radio station. It was called Bounce FM. It was a funk radio station. It was a 2004 video game. He did appearance on the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas video game, in which that his song had also appeared. It was Loopzilla. Loopzilla that also appeared. But Dr. Dre, man, he Dr. Dre, who was a rapper, he'd been in world class wrecking crew in the '80s, and he was in NWA, and then he was a soul artist in the '90s with the his featuring being on this music video was called Deep Cover with Snoop Dogg. But he sampled most of Clinton's beats. He sampled most of Clinton's beats in order to help and create his own G Funk, his own G Funk music era. That's what he creates. That's where it's all started in the early '90s. The G Funk, the G Funk music era is displaying his influence on rap and hip hop. Clinton also worked with the likes of the late Tupac Shakur on the song "Can't See Me" from the album All Eyes on Me. Uh, it was a sprawling classic uh double CD. You know what I'm saying? Ice Cube uh on the song and the video for this one here. Bob Gun. Bob Gun One Nation. That was on the Lethal Injection album, which has sampled Funkadelic's earlier hit One Nation Under a Groove. Outkast on the song Synthesizer. That was from the album Aquemini. Redman on the song Jump. That was from the album Malpractice. That was from 2001. They had the woman right there, trying to uh trying to save a monkey. Souls of Mischief. Souls of Mischief, that was a hip hop group that was from Oakland, California, on Mama Knows Best, from the album Trilogy, the Conflict Climax Resolution. It was from the Souls of Mischief. That's their album. Killer Priest on the Come With Me, from the album Priesthood. Priesthood is like a clergy that are like the leaders that was within established religions. Their roles and functions vary in different religious traditions, but usually involve presiding over specific rituals and teaching the religion's doctrines and practices. Some of the terms used for the individual clergy or clergyman. Yo, turn music down, man. Get my thing copyrighted. What you doing? Oh yeah, the Wu Tang Clan on Wolves from the album Eight Diagrams. Hey, somebody turn that music down, man. Go get my video copyrighted. Clinton founded a record label called the Sea Conspiracy. It's called the Sea Conspiracy. In 2003, I think he had a cameo appearance in Where Were We? Where Were We? Where Were We? That's what it's mentioned. The season two premiere of the CBS TV sitcom How I Met Your Mother on September 18th, 2006. He appeared on the intro to Snoop Dogg's The Blue Carpet Treatment. The Blue Carpet Treatment that was released in I think it was released on what late 2006 by Doggy Style Records, but it got released in 2007 maybe. Clinton was also a judge for the fifth annual Independent Music Awards on September 16, 2008. September 16, 2008, Clinton released a studio album, George Clinton and the Gangsters of Love. That's that's the crew right there. On what's the word? Shanachi. Shanachi Records, I think. That's the word. Shanachi Records. It's Shanachie. Shanachi Records. Largely a covers album, Gangsters features guest appearances from Sly Stone, Elder Barge, Red Hot Chili Peppers, RZA, Carlos Santana, and gospel singer Kim Burrell, and there's much more. On September 10th, 2009, Clinton was awarded the Urban Icon Award from the Broadcast Music Incorporated, the The ceremony featured P Funk associate William Earl Bootsy Collins. Yeah, William Bootsy Collins, uh, as well contemporary performers such as Big Boy from Outkast and CeeLo Green. CeeLo Green from the Goody Mob. Also in 2009, Clinton Clinton was so inducted into the North Carolina Music Hall of Fame. Yeah, the North Carolina Music Hall of Fame. That's where guys start from. On March the 7th, 2010, Clinton voiced a colorful blob alien version of himself in T-Pain's Adult Swim television movie Freaknik, the musical, in May of 2012. Yep. Yo, somebody turn that music down, man. You gonna get my video copyrighted, man. Okay, in May 2012, Clinton was awarded an honorary doctorate of music from Berklee College of Music. During the commencement concert, Clinton joined the college's P-Funk ensemble to perform hits like Testify, Give Up the Funk, Give Up the Funk, that's from Parliament, and One Nation Under a Groove, that's Parliament. Testify came from the Parliaments, I think. He was accompanied by a longtime horn players like Benny Cowan and Greg Thomas. Clinton was a guest star in an Odd Futures television show, The Loiter Squad. The Loiter Squad, that was an American live action TV sketch comedy series that was for Adult Swim. That was starring the likes of Tyler the Creator, his name was Earl the Sweatshirt, Jasper Dolphin, and Travis Taco Bennett. Yeah, Travis Bennett was also known as Taco, and Lionel Boyce, who happened to be L Boy. That was from the LA hip hop group Odd Future. That show was on Adult Swim on 2013, so that don't even last long. Probably could have lasted. On June 27, 2015, Clinton joined Mark Ronson, Mary J. Blige, Grandmaster Flash on stage at the Glastonbury Festival to perform Ronson's hit Uptown Funk. Clinton also appears with Kendrick Lamar on the song Wesley's Theory from the album To Pimp a Butterfly, I think. In March 2017, Clinton appeared on the Adult Swim TV series. It was called Fish Center Live. The outlines Samuel Argyle described it as the episode that makes the most cohesive narrative sense. Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic were slated to headline the seventh annual Treefort Music Fest in Boise, Idaho in 2018. But the release of a new Parliament album, Medicaid Fraud Dog, was announced in March of 2018. It was released in May of 22nd of 2018. May 22nd, 2018, it was released. In April of that year, Clinton announced that he would retire from touring in May of 2019. Billboard had reported that Clinton had recently had a pacemaker implanted, but he said that that was not an actor in his decision when he indicated that he expected the collective Parliament Funkadelic would continue to tour without him by saying that the truth be told, it's yeah, that's what he said. He said this in he said that truth be told, it's never really been about me. It's always been about the music and the band. That's a real P Funk like it's a real P Funk legacy. They'll still be funkin'. They'll still be funkin' out. They'll be funkin' long. Yeah, that's what he said. They'll still be funkin' long after I stop. But earlier in 2008, he told Rolling Stone that he made a hologram suggesting that the band could have it start performing in Las Vegas, but Clinton would just unretire a few years later. But in December of 2018, the Recording Academy announced that Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic would be given Lifetime Achievement Awards. The awards were presented on May 11th, 2019. Clinton collaborated with Flying Lotus with his new album. It was called Flamagua. It was released on May the 24th, 2019. The track is called Burning Down the House. It was co-written by Clinton. It was co-written by Clinton himself. On June 26th of that year, on June 26th of that year, Clinton was so named as an honoree by the National Museum of African American Music. Clinton was also provided the voice of the what's the word? He's also provided the voice of this character here, King Quincy, the leader of the funk trolls. In the 2020 animated film here is called Trolls. It's called Trolls World Tour. But in 2022, Clinton competed in season 8 of The Mask. I was on there. It was on season 8 of this show here is called The Mask Singer. Right here. The Mask Singer as Gopher. As Gopher. After being eliminated on the Hall of Fame night alongside George Foreman. Uh, you know what I'm saying? Who was now he's like a American boxer, businessman, minister, and author who's no longer with us as the Venus Flytrap. Clinton did a performance of the song that he did with Parliament. Give up the funk, tear the roof off the sucker, while backed backed up by the woman that I mentioned who was in the Brides of Funkenstein, the Brides of Funkenstein, Sheila Brody or Sheila E maybe. I didn't get a chance to mention who she was. That's Sheila E. They don't know who it was. That was Sheila E. There was difference between Sheila E and Sheila Brody. Sheila Brody was in she was in Brides of Funkenstein, but Sheila E was who had to be Sheila Escovedo. So the song was so backed up by Sheila E, you know what I'm saying, Nicholas Cannon, and Robin Fick. Robin Fick. Well, Alan is like his middle name, but that name came from Alan Fick, who was a television legend who had passed away. That's Robin's father, who had passed away. Alan Fick, who was a TV legend. But Clinton, He did also exhibited the paintings and the sculptures in a solo show at the Jeffrey Deitch Gallery. That's the word. It was a gallery that was from a man named yeah, it's from there. He did some stuff by exhibiting the paintings and sculptures that was in a solo show. Oh, I'm sorry. It was at oh yeah, that's what I got rephrased. Jeffrey Deitch Gallery. It was in Los Angeles, California. It was with an artist named Lauren Halsey. Lauren Halsey, who was an American contemporary artist that was using the architecture and installation art to demonstrate the realities of the urban neighborhoods like South Central Los Angeles, like South Central LA. But on January the 20 I forgot, on January the 19th of 2024, Clinton received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Yeah, Hollywood Walk of Fame here. But on March the 11th of last year, Clinton had filed a $100 million lawsuit against the guy who ran the Bridgeport music label, Armin Bouladian. Yeah, Armin Bouladian. And then the record label that Bouladian had founded, Bridgeport Music. This is what he sued. This is the three people that he had filed a $100 million lawsuit against. It was Armin Bouladian. It was Armin Bouladian, who had owned the Bridgeport music label. It was a music publishing company. Westbound Records that released the Funkadelic albums. That's a label that released the Funkadelic albums. Uh, Nine Records, which that he sued. Southfield Music, that he have sued, and Eastbound Records, that he sued. But in June of last year, that Clinton was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Uh, Carol Hall, yeah, Carol Hall, George Clinton's first wife, and they had several children like Donna, George III, Daryl, and Lushawn Clinton. Clinton had married Stephanie Lynn Clinton in 1990. But in early 2013, after 22 years of the marriage that they have that they have, he had filed for divorce. He had filed for divorce. I think it was I think it's from Stephanie. And now, and let me explain it to you. And he is now married to a woman who goes by the name of Colin. Her name is Colin Thompson. Was now Mrs. George Clinton. Is Colin Thompson Clinton, who has been his manager of more than 10 years. I explained this to you yesterday about the tragedy on my live show during the whole thing with the Ray J thing, the Orlando Brown thing. On 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 February the 1st, 2010, Clinton's son, George Clinton Jr., was found dead in his Florida home. According to police, he died of natural causes and had been dead for several days. Clinton, right after his son was found dead in his house in Florida, the law enforcement had found out that George Jr. had died of natural causes and had been dead for several days. But Clinton, George Clinton, the guy who did the music, he was so inducted as an honorary member of the Omega Psi fraternity on July the 30th, 2020. This is prior to the pandemic, and received an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters from the name Clinton College. It was a private, historically black Christian college that was in Rock Hill, South Carolina, on May the 3rd. On May the 3rd of 2024. Yeah, May 3rd, 2024. Uh, it was been over 2 years. Clinton claims that he claims to have witnessed the unidentified anomalous anomalous phenomena in interview with the last podcast on the left. He said that he and Bootsy Collins where they were like driving to his home. They were like driving to his home from a studio that that's what he said. He said that he and Bootsy Collins were driving to his home from a studio that they were working on some songs at when they saw a flying metallic objects, one of which hit their car. He described the object as like mercury and couldn't explain the sighting because we weren't even high. There's some work that Clinton was doing in the 80s. Computer games, you shouldn't nub bitfish. Some of my jokes are friends. R&B R&B skeletons in the closet. The Cinderella theory. Hey man, smell my finger. Dope dogs. TAPOAFOM. How late do you have to be before you are absent? George Clinton and his Gangsters of Love. This is from this is from the work that he did with Parliament. Uh, the Mothership Connection, live from Houston, live at the Beverly Theater. Mothership Connection, Newburgh season. 500,000 kilowatts of P Funk. Yeah, 500,000 kilowatts of P Funk power live. Take it to the stage live. P Funk. Yeah, P Funk live at the Metropolis. Then the family series albums here says Go for Your Funk, Plush Funk, P is the Funk, Testing Positive for the Funk, A Fifth of Funk, The Best. the album information that was out there, the Atomic Clinton and the Atomic Dog EP that was from 1988 to 1990. There's some two EPs there, the album stuff. See the songs here. They got the songs that was been peaking at the chart positions here. For number 19, and that's for US R&B for 19 and 1, 15 and 13 and 13. There was a US dance chart for like 48 and 38, especially. Those two or four, there were other songs here, like here. The two songs that was from the computer games album in 1982 was Loopzilla and Atomic Dog. The song that was from You Shouldn't Nut Bitfish is Nubian Nut. Nubian Nut. The song that came from the R&B Skeletons in the Closet. The songs that was from the album. It was Do Fries Go With That Shake, R&B Skeletons. Two songs from the Cinderella Theory, from the Cinderella Theory album. Why should I dog you out? Why should I dog you out? And Tweaking. Two songs that was from the Hey Man Smell My Finger album. Paint the White. Yeah, it's called Paint the White House Black. It was a song. It was a song that George Clinton had did with Dr. Dre. It was a song that was with Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, Cam, Laid Back. MC Breed, yeah, MC Breed and Yo Yo, and Martial Law. Yeah, Martial Law. They had a cameo. They had cameos that came from uh, BB Drake and John Witherspoon. They got one here. Got one here from the album TAPOAFOM. That was already said here. It was called If Anybody Gets Funked Up. If anybody gets funked up, FUNKED. Anybody gets funked up, it's gonna be you. All this stuff here. Look all the work that he did here. He did this stuff here. All this look at all the stuff that he did with that was with all this stuff here he got, yeah, all this contributions that he got here. Look at all the songs that he was featured in, man. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. Work that sucker to death. I almost believed you. American Ghost Dance. May the Cube be with you. Sun City. Break My Heart. Magilla Gorilla. That's word. Magilla Gorilla. Lifestyles of the Roach and Famous. We Can Funk. House Party. Juju Man. Sons of the P. Words and Music. G Funk Intro. That's a song that he did with Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre and Lady of Rage. Tight. He did that song with MC Breed, who had to be Eric Breed. Uh, PCU, Bob Gun. Yeah, Bob Gun song that he did with Ice Cube. Uh, P Funk. Yeah, that's a song. P Funk, Funky Jam, Black Mermaid, Can't See Me, Good Burger, Synthesizer, Get Naked. He did a song with Lil Kim, Fred Durst, and Mixmaster Mike. Alien Love, Come With Me, Speed Dreaming. He did a song with Warren G, I think. He did a song with Warren G and Mr. Grimm. That was from the album with Turn Up the Regulator. That was from Warren G. But that song here already added like Here Comes Another Hit that was featuring the late Rudy Ray Moore. The late Rudy Ray Moore, folks, the guy who created the Dolomite character. Yeah, Rudy Ray Moore, bro. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He did an appearance on the song Jump. On the song Jump. He was in this thing. He was featured in the movie that was from an album. What's My Favorite Word? Came from Too Short. You know what I'm saying? He's like a Bay Area rap legend. You know, he been in the game since the '80s. He be representing East Side Oakland. He's like East Side Oakland all day, man. Okay, he was featuring Hey Bulldog, Lotus Flower, Lotus Flower, uh Uncle Speaks, in Trilogy. He did that for Snoop Dogg album, The Blue Carpet Treatment. Uh, The Doctor and the Kid, Wolves and Tar Pit. That came from the Eight Diagrams album. That was from the Wu Tang Clan. When the world is at peace, love won't let me wait. Night out, up again. That's from Bobby Digital. Hitler's brain. There's a party for your sorrows. Red wine and red wine skin. The big old nasty get down. Defunk with us. Yeah, defunk. Yeah, funk with us. Uh, Thanksgiving Day. Tonight we ride. Do the damn thing. Wesley's theory. The lavishments of light looking. Do the damn thing. That was with the young fellas in Snoop Dogg and Nipsey Hussle. Riot. Harking tribute. Highway. Burning down the house. Feed the wolf. Groove for the quest. Funk aspirin. UFO Lee Funk. And Brooklyn UFO. Benny's got a gun. She's a flirt. Up is just a place. Headache. Lazy Daisy. All the parties. He did that with Chief Keef and Drake. Last Call in America. It came from Fishbone album. I think he did that. He did for the album uh, Stockholm Syndrome. That was from a group called Fishbone. That's a rock band that's been around since the '70s. Space Cow, yeah, Last Call in America. That's out there. It came out last year. Space Cow, Initiation Ritual. He told, yeah, Petal Rock Black. George Clinton that did the song with Will Smith's daughter Willow Smith. You know what I'm saying? Will Smith is proud of his daughter wanted to work with George Clinton, even though Will probably could have known George Clinton very well. He could have met him. He could have met him or hug him. Then this we have. Yeah, the last one here. He did some work with the D12 Forever Volume One album. That was from this year's. Yeah, that was from this year from the group D12 here. It was a group that's been formed in the '90s. So that's like a group that nobody else even know of. Yeah, he did some work. He did some work with D12 this year because he already known D12 very well, so he knew the guys from D12. So I'm not gonna mention it there because he might go clip the shit. The films he was in it. The Night Before, House Party, Graffiti Bridge, PCU, Good Burger, Butter, Kuso, Trolls World Tour, Good Burger 2. It was a second sequel of the 1997 film. His television appearances: Saturday Night Live, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, Martin, The Bernie Mac Show, How I Met Your Mother, Freak Nick, the musical, The Cleveland Show, Loiter Squad, The Masked Singer, and Agent Elvis. His appearances are gonna be on the video games here. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, that's for the PlayStation 2 version. Well, it then as far as the Grand Theft Auto the trilogy, the definitive edition. I think I got that disc. I think I got the game. He came out with a book. He came out with a book. You know what I'm saying? That's all out there. It's just, I ain't gonna mess with those references now. That's too much. Already tore the roof off the motherfucker. Tore the roof off. That's what I should have done. Tore it up too much. Tore the roof off way too much. Got another live show I had to do. Probably the next day I might have to do one. How am I supposed to do one because people keep playing the music every week? School's gonna be coming up real soon. I don't even know, but I'm gonna have to finish up this video here. Don't know what else to expect. I'm sorry, I had to go I had to put a bandage on my thumb. So I accidentally let the blood flew right through the thumb. Let me finish this thing because yeah, people keep making all this noise and almost caused my video to fucking get slapped with copyrights. Let me get up out of here and see what I can do to get that cage cleaned up for the dogs. Only I do it for one reason because dogs kept shitting dogs kept shitting out in the cage for no reason. But the dogs need to go outside and and take a shit outside. And they're stinking up the entire living room. And even though my sister almost gets sick of you know from inhaling the nasty smell. So I'm about to get up out of here, man. To get about the living room and clean that cage anyway, because my sister probably needed my help.